and then come back in. But
what's up, everybody? We had a little bit of technical difficulty, but
still ongoing.
Mike will be back in 1 second. We're gonna have some video because he's gonna show off. There we go.
Hello?
There he is.
There he is. There we go.
All right.
Now it's working.
Yeah,
don't touch it.
Too. Nope.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay, we're all good. All right, everybody, welcome to I guess this would be a special edition of NPR
Special
Live
Saturday
on Saturday
edition.
afternoon coming at you. We wanted to make sure that for having Mike for round 2, for Mike's Monitors is back. We are going to be talking Ackies. We're going to be talking Kim's, all kind of little rock dwarf monitors. It's going to be awesome. You know, I have the dwarf monitor bug. So this is going to be excellent for me.
A little bit of the dwarf monitor bug, a small amount. Yeah,
a little bit. But dude, first I got to give the guess. If you didn't catch the first episode with Mike that we did, I don't know, a couple months ago or whatever, you should go back and check.
What are you doing
out.
Here? Yeah.
Yeah. But dude is on fire, man. He is crazy. He's just producing monitors like nuts. He's got crazy enclosures. He's got these monitors that I could only dream. I didn't even know, dude, when we came back from Australia and we saw the Mertens and then like finding Mike and seeing that he actually had them and the setup that he has. And dude, it's oh my God. I hope when Monitor Fest comes around, if that's still happening, we get a chance to see them in person because holy shit.
I've seen worse enclosures at zoos compared to like what Mike's got going on. Like he's got like the big thing for the Mertens, and then he's got the underwater viewing thing, and he told us how much of a pain in the balls that was to set up, but it got it working. So that's just awesome.
So welcome back, Mike. How you doing? Glad to have you back.
I'm doing good. Yeah, thank you for having me again, guys. I really appreciate it. I like to get the word out for, I mean, this is great because you guys got such a huge platform with the, in the snake world, and and like what happened to Eric there, when you get bit by that monitor bug, it's all over. I personally believe it's all over. To some degree or another, you're going to wind up having a monitor or more monitors. That's just the way it is with them. They're great animals.
Yeah, man. I think so. I wanted to approach this episode from the standpoint of snake people interested in monitors, but intimidated by them. Maybe we'll talk about some of the misconceptions about them. Some of the things that people just don't understand about monitors because they're so different than keeping snakes. Like if we're keeping a carpet python, we're not thinking about 140 degree to 150 degree basking spot and all these things that are just so foreign to snake people. But let me tell you, to Mike's point, once you start dabbling in monitors, and especially since we can have like these little versions of these, I mean, I don't know. When I was a kid, dinosaurs were where it's at. This is like a little tiny dinosaur in a cage.
Exactly. True that.
And they're. I don't want to downplay snakes because I do love snakes, but there's just a level of intelligence that's maybe a couple notches up with these guys that you just can watch. I could watch them for hours, man. I have a snake background too. It seems that's where it starts with most people. But, after a while of having like North American desert rat snakes was kind of the niche I was in. Right.
And they're unlike like boas and pythons that, like you say, there's an intelligence. Well, when they're awake and alert and they're like looking for a humid spot or food, then you can see their intelligence. But when they're turned off and they're in a hide box or they're, in their hiding area, when they're turned off, they're just, there's like nothing going on in their head. With monitors and certain snake species, like, high metabolism snakes, like dry marcan or thamnophis garter snakes, these North American desert rat snakes, for some reason, they're brain is like always clicked on. And that's why I liked the North American desert rat snakes. I like Drymarchon, I like Thamnophis, garter snakes, racers, because when they are shut off, it's for a very short time, and then they're active, looking for food, looking for a nice place. They're just a little more active. So, like boas and pythons, when they're satisfied, they're pretty much turned off. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just monitors are just never turned off. They're always on.
That's true.
And not only are they on, but they're on like the 10s, man. They're looking for somewhere to go. They're looking for something to eat. They're looking for a female. They're just always on. It's so cool.
Yeah, man. 100%. So I guess we're gonna kind of talk about the, I hope I say this right, Odatria complex. Did I say that correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So what does that mean? What are we talking about when we talk about that?
Odatrias are dwarf species of monitors. So, you got your Komodo dragons, and you got your Mertens, you got Flavy sand monitors, you got all kinds of stuff. These are all, Odatria would cover all the dwarf Australian complex.
Gotcha. Okay. So we're talking.
Go on.
Gillini, Kingorum, Ackies, Kimberly Rocks. No, I'm missing a bunch of
Glebopalma. The list goes on and on. There's I off the top of my head, I can't recall how many of the Odatrias there are, but there's quite a few. You got Caudalineatus, Brevicauda. There's a lots of them.
Right.
Cool.
Okay, so I think when we talk about the first question that I sort of had, right, and this is coming from my snake brain or my Morelia brain, right? Is there different types of Ackies? Because when we were in Australia, we went to Croc Cove and we saw
different colors,
and like, is this sort of like, is this like a taxonomy debated thing, or like what do we have available in the States? I know there's red Ackies and yellow Ackies. Does that mean anything? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, there are locale differences, and not only locale differences, but I mean, there might be the red Ackies and the yellow Ackies from within the same area, and when it comes to that. The locality differences and stuff, I'm not real well versed in them. I've never been to Australia, and like just hearing your guys' stories from being there and knowing somebody said to you, "Oh, this is a red Ackie," you're like, "That's yellow. That's not red at all." But it's just, it varies so much in the wild, and the limited gene pool that we have,
right,
in captivity just reflects on what was originally brought in or continue to thrive in captivity. But yeah, they're in the wild. There's Ackies that would literally blow your mind, and you'd say that don't even look like an Ackie. But we're not privileged for that here.
Right.
I kind of imagine it's the same thing of what goes on with Morelia. What's here is what's here, and we've just kind of line bred it almost to get the reds and the yellows that we got. And I remember with Eric standing at the Crocosaurus Cove, I'm like, there's a blue one. Oh, I've never heard of a blue one. What the hell is this? Like, what are we missing here? So, yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, just to know what the diversity of nature is, and then to think, I mean, I'm totally grateful for what we have, but man, you're always, it's like a kid in a candy store. You're like, wait a minute, man, that popsicle looks better. You
always want the shit you can't have that's over there. You're like, I'll take it. Yeah.
Yep. There you go.
So is there, I have a red Ackies. I think they come from, the guys that go Sim Container I got it through Mike. I'm assuming that's where he got them from. But
yeah, I guess I just found out about yours, the Ackies that you got, and we have talked in the past about all kinds of stuff, but we didn't really touch base on the Ackies that you have. And the Ackies that you have, man, dude, you started off at the top. So those pineapples are amazing, amazing animals.
Oh, all right, fair enough.
Pineapples, is that the endearing term?
Yeah, that's the coin term, which I you're talking to the wrong guy. I don't go for that. I mean, it is what it is. It kind of helps to separate them from like a regular red Ackie or yellow Ackies, you know, but these, you know, all these coined names, I'm not the guy.
Okay.
I stick with Latin names, and, you know, it's a really beautiful example. But, you know, when I hear about candy cane, pinstripe, Oreo, cookie, mumbo jumbo, and then you look at the animal, it's like, wait a minute, man, that's a ball python. I watch some of these videos where someone will cut an egg open and say, no, that's a strawberry vanilla cream pie Oreo cookie.
Thank you. It's like it's
and I'm like,
Sunday.
wow, man, that guy's good. He can see all that, but I just don't see it. But I'm like I say, I'm not a real snake guy. So
I'm not either, but all I got is snakes. But,
I think the only reason I bring it up, it doesn't really matter. I mean, to me, I didn't think about it when I bought my Ackies. It was just like, here they were Ackies. I got them, you know, I got them from somebody that's, you know, somebody that breeds nice animals and has a reputation, blah, 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 which is what I would say, right? If you want nice stuff, you go to the people that produce nice stuff. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
But us snake guys, man, we're kind of weird when it comes to this kind of crazy shit. So let's okay, we don't need to talk about that anymore.
Right.
But
I think I get you guys in trouble with your snake people when I'm on, but I don't mean it.
I get us in trouble. I get us in trouble just by saying things. It's fine.
Well, yeah, the one thing that I talk about this a bunch is that, like, once you start like expanding what you sort of, even if you just look at other stuff, right, you realize that there's so many different sectors of the reptile hobby that, like, it's like open up this whole new world. You're like, there's people that keep these, or, you know, these dwarf monitors, or there's people that keep water monitors, or, you know, and you meet this whole new group of people that are just as passionate about, you know, whether it's us with carpet pythons or you guys with monitors or whatever it is. It's just it's pretty awesome, you know.
Yep, definitely.
It's good to plug yourself into these other kinds of things, because it's cool to make friends with other various reptile people, because this way you don't feel like you're kind of off over here and alone, and
exactly,
you care about what happens with their animals. Like if something was coming down the road in Pennsylvania saying that they were going to take away insert monitor here, I would be probably upset about it and fight more to keep it, because I have friends that keep monitors and I don't want them to lose their animals, where somebody who just kept, like, say, a certain type of snake might not really kind of care because it's not theirs. So,
well, you got to understand that too. When they come for one, that's just the tip of the iceberg. They never stop. They come for everything. So everything is in jeopardy in these days. You know, believe it or not, as sad as that sounds, it's true.
Yeah. So I don't know how to unfold these questions or whatever, but I'm sort of probably going to ask you like a couple, and then you can kind of go with it as you will. But
okay,
you know, like if you're getting an Ackie, or you're getting a Kimber, or, you know, you're getting any kind of dwarf monitor or whatever, like, what are some of the things, like, first of all, what are some of the, like, big misconceptions about them that, you know, if you were to tell them, like, no, that's not true, you know, this one's delicate, that one does this, whatever, what are some of those,
like, the pitfalls?
Things?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm you know, this is a great subject. I'm glad you hit on it, because over the last, I don't know, year and a half or so, I just started working with Odatria species, and you know, I'm used to whatever, all kinds of Indonesian wild caughts, which are very tricky and delicate with, you know, their parasite loads until you get them established. But once they're established, you know, they're rock stars. They're hardy. So I had bred the Mertens, and, you know, a lot of people were interested, and some people are friends for years and years. And, you know, you know how it is in the trade, in this industry. It's, you know, people don't want to come up with money, so we do a little swipping and swapping, and I got into some Odatrias, and I got some really good, nice animals and groups, and of course, when I got my Kimberley rocks, I got these things, and they're tiny and flat, and I lost one. So I had to take it from this enclosure that I built for raise up, larger species. But this little guy, he got his head through a tiny little crack and he was gone. So I took the other two and I put them in. Now I'm panicking. I'm all these, horror stories of how Kimberly rocks are so delicate and fragile. Well, he wasn't too fragile because he made his way out of the box. No problem. So I started thinking, I'm going to do things. I tried to put all that negativity out of my head. And I said, I'm going to set these up the way I would, and I'm just going to go from there. So that's what I did. And in doing so, man, I've found the complete opposite to be true with Kimberly rocks and basically all the Odatria monitors. My Kimberly rocks started out, again, like I say, tiny, like figure, a young anole, even smaller and flat. So I put them in an exo.
Wow.
Yeah, they're tiny.
Small.
I mean, Eric, when you see these things, you are going to freak, but that you can't get that out of your mind. They're strong, hardy animals. And as long as you do them right, they'll do you right. And it's that simple. You support them well, and they know what they're doing. They're not weak and fragile. You provide for them what they need and what they require. And man, they're rock stars, man. They're strong and aggressive. So I set them up in a tall, small Exoterra, very simple setup, small little thermal gradient. The ones that I raised, I used a cork tube that went from side to side, maybe 6-8 inches from the top of the basking light. And now the cork hollow that I put in there, I cut in 2 1-inch holes. So, I mean, it doesn't take much for them to feel secure. So in the setup that I have yours in, Eric, there you go. That one right there. Now that piece of bark acts as a thermal gradient. It's 100 plus degrees near the top of that, and it goes down to 82 degrees with all different temperatures in between. Now these monitors, they're so small, they could get in the cracks of that bark, and with that plant that's hanging over the top of the cork bark, they think they're hidden behind it. I could see them as plain as day. You'll see them plain as day, but that's just enough cover for them to make them feel secure. And in doing that, they can pick their thermal gradient wherever they want up and down that piece of bark. Usually after a feed, they're up at the top. In the morning, they're up at the top. Towards the afternoon, or if they're full, they're down in the dark hide. So they're not fragile. Just get that out of your head. And as long as you do them simple like this, I've found it to be the complete opposite. They're hardy. And after, I keep pinhead crickets in there and small roaches at all times for them. But to supplement them and to get them to really get growing, to support their skeletal growth, I give them pinky parts, the guts, legs, arms, tails, the snoot, parts of the. I don't want to be graphic, but we're reptile people.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, I chop these up and I give them like the brain, the soft skull of the brain for lots of calcium, and then I dust everything.
Okay.
And you got to understand, they're growing so fast because their goal at this size is to get out of that predator stage and become a predator.
Right.
So if you support their skeletal growth with calcium and vitamin supplements, and you give them bone and gut and rib cage and all the different, basically it's a whole prey, but it's minced, it's chopped up. And I'll show you that here in a little bit. I'll feed Eric's for him so he can see, to get that scary stuff out of your brain, man. These are animals. They know what they're doing. As long as you support them, they're the pros.
Right.
As long as you support them well, they know what they're doing. Give them what they need, and they will do the rest. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I did like that picture because the longer I stared at it, the more baby monitors I was able to pick out. Like I saw the two at the top. I'm like, oh, there's another one there. There's another one there, and it's like, and I'm sure that Mike can just look at it and see all of them immediately. But
sometimes it takes. I mean, it's easy for me, but they're good at what they do.
Yeah,
I'm gonna. So Keith McPeak sent me a couple questions that I'm gonna pepper in as we chatted, and you were talking about feeding. So the first thing I was gonna say is that you sort of said that you put the pinhead crickets in there. Is there anything that you should have to worry about as far as like, because one of his questions were, first food for neonates, because newbie people don't realize, how savage crickets can be on dwarf monitors. So is there anything that you have to look out for as far as that?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, if your conditions are right, this is what they do. If they're nice and fired up and warm, there ain't no cricket going to bother them. Now, mind you, these got to be appropriate size crickets, because yes, an adult cricket is a savage. I mean, and they will eat meat. And if your animals aren't warm enough, and if they're lethargic, the cricket's going to get a better of them. But I can guarantee you, the way I got these guys set up, ain't no cricket getting my Kimberly rocks. My Kimberly rocks are cricket assassins. Even tiny little king gorums that hatch out of these eggs, they're so small. I give them a day out of the egg, a day in the incubator with a little bit of water on the bottom so they could, hydrate, because when they hatch, they get very dehydrated. So the first thing they really look for is water. So that's a great way to, if you put them in the incubator with just a tiny little, it's not like they're wading in the water. It's just a tiny little bit of water in there where they can go and drink. And that's usually what they do after they hatch and I don't know if a lot of people know that, but I have videos of like coming eye monitors just hatching. And then I put them in this little water setup. Of course, with the water monitors, they get a little bit more water. Right. But first thing they do is they put their nose down in a little corner and they just start drinking and drinking and drinking. So, but it's like I said, if they're fired up and they're in good health, there ain't no cricket's going to hassle them.
Right on.
All right.
Okay. And then sort of the other thing he said was, dusting the food. Do you gut load those crickets? Are you dusting every feeding, or do you have some kind of on-off?
Well, all of my feeder prey items, be it roaches, crickets, grasshoppers, whatever the case may be, they're fed. I take care of my insects as well as I take care of my monitors, because of course, you are what you eat. So you don't want them having, crickets that have been in a box chewing on that rotten potato in there. I don't even feed them overnight. I throw all that rotten potato away. I put apples, oranges, and like bran flake in there. Like the kind you get at a health food store, not like bran, cereal stuff.
Wheaties, we're not chucking Wheaties or Frosted Flakes in there. All right, good.
We're not, but it's still better than a potato, if you ask me.
Right.
But I give them that, probably maybe 12. By the time my wife gets home with my crickets, it's probably about 12 hours in the morning when I get back down there. The oranges have been, heavily hit. The apples are heavily hit, and the bran meal, you could see that they've been eating it. So, of course, and then I give them water crystals. So they're hydrated, they're gut loaded. And the next morning they go in and they're walking vitamins for all my animals.
Right.
And then as far as the chopped whole prey items, be it pinkies or quail, that gets dusted every time for these young growers. The young up and comings, they get dusted every day to support their skeletal growth. And gravid females, I use a lot of vitamin supplements on.
Okay. Now, do you use like calcium and D3 or just calcium, or what do you?
I use mineral for indoor, so that's got the D3 in it. Okay. And then again, another subject, but for gravid females, once a week I dose up with a syringe. I inject the prey item, whatever it may be, with glucosa something. I don't know. I got it from the vet, so it's just it's good calcium support for egg laying females.
Does that really make a difference as far as like a good clutch?
Calcifying the eggs? Yeah.
Yeah, I have never done without, so I couldn't tell you how it would go without. But they're strong animals, and it's just always a little boost, because who knows what we're not giving them from in the wild,
Do you stop dusting when the animals are big enough to take whole prey items themselves? Like, is that when you kind of cut, like for the boys? I know you said the girls you still dust, but
yeah, insects I dust every feeding. Any of the vertebrate prey like pinkies or quails or fish, I do light dustings, but pretty much every time.
Okay, and is it glucosamine?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
thank you, Teresa.
Yeah, glucosamine. It's. I mean, I think you can even get it at like Tractor Supply for like cattle or whatever.
Yeah, I think you probably could. So,
I was kind of looking up sort of like some of the natural history of Kimberly rocks and stuff, and surprisingly, they eat a lot of geckos.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Yeah,
well, you figure, I always try to look at any animal. I look at the morphology of the animal, and I'll say, like, when I look at an eye, I'm like, why has he got that really long, skinny finger? Well, he's pulling grubs out of, logs and stuff. So when you look at a Kimberly rock, which is, maybe Glebopalma is flat like that as well. But when you look at the morphology and the body structure of such an animal, you got to ask yourself, why is this animal this way? And of course, like you said, they got to scare out little geckos and skinks from in tiny little crevices. So you ain't going to do that with a big bulldog head. You got to do that with a flat, narrow head. So there's all kinds of reasons for their morphology, and that's definitely why Kimberly rocks are flat.
Yeah. That's some of their prey items right there.
Things you'd imagine would cram themselves into in between the smallest little rock crevice and stuff like that. So that's awesome.
So,
and
I was go ahead.
No, I was going to say, for all of their adaptations, they still aren't getting away from a Kimberly rock,
Yeah. Well,
how cool would that be to see in the wild, by the way, just sitting there in the Kimberley in Australia and just see this Kimberly rock monitor chasing a gecko around, trying to stick that like long neck head into the thing.
Well, it's funny that you say that. Dave Kirshner, he's an Australian herpetologist, biologist, zoologist, and he, out of his back window, he gets to see all the birds that are in Australia, beautiful birds. And he has in the gully behind his house, he has a colony of sulfur crested cockatoos, and he sees a lot of lace monitors.
I saw this video yesterday.
Did you see that?
Yes.
Wow. You talk, man. That was epic. I talked to Dave and I said, man, that's an epic video, dude. That is, how do you beat that? You just can't unless you're there.
You don't.
I sent that to the guys last night, and I heard crickets, and I was like, "What are you guys kidding me? Like, come on, man!"
I didn't see it yet. I'm sorry.
It's a lace monitor kicking cockatoos out of their nest.
Now you know what? I'm a veranda guy, big time. But man, something in my heart was like, "Oh, let that baby go, man."
Yeah.
But I want to tell them, have a quail. Who cares? Have as many quails as you want. Leave the cockatoo alone.
The baby cockatoo. Well.
The one I have to the thing that I took away from that video is the next time that I am in Australia and I'm looking for lace monitors, I'm just going to listen to the cockatoo. No, the cockatoos were screaming, right?
Yeah.
So
shit.
As soon as they would make these calls, right, that that the lace monitor's in the tree. Right?
Yep.
So it's like, and this guy, it's right off his back porch. He's like, "Oh yeah,
that's
my back porch."
That's just not fair. Hell? I look at my back porch as a squirrel out there eating a freaking nut. Like, okay, what do you do? Like, I'm not watching National Geographic through my window.
Yeah,
come on,
man, it's epic. I was going to say,
go on.
No, I was going to say that, the one thing that I wanted to maybe put on record is like, is there a certain amount of food that, like, if you're feeding especially say a growing monitor, you're just feeding it till it stops?
No, I feed it. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I feed them. I have a two layered approach to feeding my animals. Basically, for the Odatrias, I try to always make sure that there's something in there for them, be it, you know, a small amount of crickets or a small amount of roaches, because roaches, you know, they're survivors too.
Right.
So I keep appropriate sized feed items in there, which I'm not going to leave a mouse crawling around in there. I don't ever. I just don't do that. But I see people doing it. I think it's so stupid.
Right.
But I leave prey items in there for them to collect on their own, and then every morning I supplement them with you know, growing animals. I shouldn't say my adults, but for the most part, I'll every day offer them, you know, there's always a prey item in there for them, be it, you know, an insect. And then I'll offer chopped pinky parts or quail, you know, daily. And if they take a couple pieces, great. And if, you know, 9 times out of 10, they eat way more than I even think, you know, that they would eat. They just keep going. They're growing, you know. And like I say, I don't keep my animals at like a maintenance type husbandry. I keep my shit on point. They're always fired up. They're always, you know, they're running at top speed at all times. And it's just the way I do it. And, you know, again, I just do what I see as successful. So, you know, if there's no reason for me to turn them off or, you know, to lower their metabolism, if I could keep up with them, I'm gonna, and that's what I do.
Right.
Nice.
So do you gradually increase the size of the prey, and like then you can go into roaches and stuff as they get bigger, or is there a time frame with that? Or
no, the time frame and the size is great questions. Yes, as they grow, the prey sizes increase, and I don't have to have little pinhead crickets anymore, because those things just drive me crazy. I mean, they jump off, they're in my chest hair, and it's but so as they grow, the crickets get bigger, the roaches get bigger, the pieces of chopped whole prey items get bigger, until eventually they're taking, you know, pinkies on their own and stuff like that.
Okay. Do you, and this was another Keith question, do you supplement with like old school items like ground turkey and stuff as they get bigger, or do you just
strict whole prey items?
Keith. Yeah, that's old school. And like, I try not to beat up on people, but I gotta say something right now. If you have monitors and you have to resort to processed foods, ground foods, and you're doing it wrong. I mean, you could take a pinky and a pair of scissors and have a ground pinky. Why you would use number one, you got to understand ground turkey. You think, oh yeah, I'm going to have a ground turkey hamburger, and trust me, I know, because I've tried this. This is going way back. When you start fingering through ground turkey, and you find, you know, a 1/4 inch of esophagus and a tendon or the heel hook of a turkey, it's like, wait a minute, man. You know, you think you're getting breast and leg. You ain't getting none of that.
Right.
You're getting tendon, esophagus, beak, comb.
Chicken McNugget style.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
90s chicken nuggets, you know,
exactly.
stuff I grew up on,
And, you know, the whole argument going back to that whole, and I'm not mentioning any names, the whole ground turkey diet, it started off in a zoo as a raptor diet for birds of prey. And the argument briefly goes like this. Well, you know, that's great. Birds of prey like it. I don't know anything about birds of prey, so I'm not knocking it. I said, but what is the benefit of giving this to a high metabolism monitor? And the answer was, well, it's equivalent to a mouse. The bone meal and the Centrum vitamin you got to crush up in there and heat it and make balls out of it. And I'm like, well, wow. mean, you know what? That's great to know when we hit the mouse shortage. But
I don't think it's going to happen.
There's no mouse shortage. Why would you give something that's equivalent to a mouse when you could just give it a mouse?
And you're also missing a lot of stuff like the gut bacteria,
hair, teeth, all kinds of stuff. But so that's my beef with ground anything. Wow,
gotcha.
There's no point, because I'm going to tell you something right now. Feed your monitor fish for 3 days, and you tell me how it is, that stool. Now you feed that ground turkey diet for a few days and see how that mess is. And you're going to say, you know what, out the door with this turkey stuff, because it's greasy. Their turds are greasy, like when you have water shitters, like water monitors and Mertens and stuff like that.
Right.
And they eat that stuff. Not only do you have a mess in your water, but you got this grease slick on the top of the water, and you don't get that with whole prey items. So I just never went for that ground anything.
Right.
And again, I'm not trying to, everybody can do what they want, but I don't know.
I don't know, man.
Tried it, so you know what some of the things that might be, the two sides of the argument. So yeah, I mean, obviously your opinion is valued.
It looks like you're slaying it, man. So I'm gonna.
I didn't want to say that, but my results kind of speak for themselves. I try to be humble, but I just try to be humble. I know God wants me to be humble, and I try to be. But then you get into a situation like this where, and I'm not trying to brag, because all I do is support animals. They do all this. They put eggs in that incubator. And I have a beverage cooler from the 7-Eleven, and I just started my 3rd incubator. So my incubators are full of eggs. I got plenty of hatchlings. So, you can take it or you can leave it. It's the bottom line. I mean, I'm not trying to push anybody any way, but the results, I guess you got to just look at the results.
Right. I do enjoy what you said, like the animals do all the work. It's like when people like congratulate me for one of the babies I hatched, I'm like, thank you. I locked its parents in the cage together. Like I didn't do this. Like I had nothing to do with this.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I just facilitated.
I don't come from a scientific background. I mean, I've always loved animals my whole life. So can I explain what I'm doing here? Absolutely not. What I say all the time is, I know what they need, through research and just studying animals my whole life. I support that to the best of my abilities, and they are the pros. If you support them proper, they know what they're doing, and they do it, obviously. So,
so here would be, a lot of times, like I tell people that they should be a student of the serpent, right? And what that means is basically you're paying attention to your animals, and you're sort of looking for signs, whether they're thriving or if something's going wrong. What would be, say, like, what are we looking for if, like, you have any of the dwarf monitors thriving? Like, you're going to see them out, you're going to see them basking, you're going to see all these things, right? Like, what? Okay.
Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, and part of all of that is, it's a little different with captive born animals. A lot of that fear is not there. Right. I'm sure in time, being raised in a box, that they realize, I haven't seen a predator in, 8 months. So they'll probably lose a little bit of that skepticism about coming out in the open. But, in the same breath, you have 2 eyes and hands. I call myself the food monkey. I mean, so you got to become the friendly food monkey, and they lose their fear of that. Now, when they lose their fear of you as a threat to them, they're not afraid to do what they do out in front of you. So, like with all this tongue feeding that I do from babies, I mean, it's painstaking. People see you hatching monitors and putting eggs in the egg box, and they're like, "Oh man, what's that guy doing, man?" What they don't see is the hours that I stand on a step ladder and literally
waiting
and tongue feed, these tiny little monitors, tiny little pieces of food that I mince up and chop myself. And, that's all painstaking, tedious stuff. And I always like to refer to myself as I'm like a hammer. I could fix anything with a hammer and a duct tape. And, my wife and my kids point out to me, yeah, but Dad, look at all that delicate stuff that you do with the tweezers, and you're feeding them and you're patient. And I guess I don't give myself credit for that, or, coming from a concrete finisher background, I'm not delicate. And I guess I don't like to be thought of myself as delicate and precise, but there is precision in a delicate way here. And so, I don't think of myself in that way, but there's a lot of that, and people just don't see that. And they see me posting, another clutch, today's haul, and blah, blah. But man, there's a lot that goes into getting to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, like I said, it's not any magic. It's not any kind of trick.
Just hard work.
Yep.
Yeah. And
hey, how you doing, brother?
Different tools for different jobs, Sometimes the hammer works. Sometimes you got to beat. You can't.
Yeah, you can leave that there, bro. Right here? Yeah, you can leave it there. I'm sorry, guys. I'm doing a podcast. I'll talk to you next time, bro. Take care. That's my FedEx guy. He's a great dude.
No worries.
So I got it covered by turning the notifications off, but what can I do
FedEx,
about that?
We can't stop
you can't turn off live notifications. It is what it is.
Plus, who knows? Yeah. We want to make sure that you have a good relationship with the FedEx guy. He brings you shit.
He brings me my animals.
Yeah.
So
the FedEx guy.
So if you're tongue feeding, is there, what is it's like, do they immediately take it off the tongues? Is there, you have to do a session and you work something up to where like maybe they come out when you're there and like slowly build up that trust over time? Is it?
Yeah, it's really, now this is going back to my experience with establishing wild caught animals who know what predators are, who know what birds are, who knows what bad things are, who knows what 2 eyes and a hands mean. That's bad. That's scary for that animal. These captive born animals, they get over that really quick when you realize that they're food driven. So, of course, when I first start, and people look at me all the time and they tell me, "Man, how do you do that?" I use my peripheral vision. Like if you take any animal that's not used to human beings, and if like I've done this so many times in the wild, catching any kind of lizard. Mm-hmm. Well, when I was a kid, I used to run around and chase after them like a bull in a china shop, knocking everything over and scaring the crap out of these animals. And they're not dumb. They know how to get away from you, and you ain't a lizard. You ain't going to get them. Yeah. So as a little kid, I realized I had a fishing pole and I wanted to catch a frog. So I took the fishing pole with a little bit of worm on there, didn't look at the frog, because as soon as you look at the frog, he jumps. Mm-hmm. So if you don't look at the frog and you put that in front of him, he eats the worm and boom, you got him. So I said to myself, maybe I could figure out something like this, because we used to go to Florida every year when I was a kid. I'm like, I got to figure this out. So the curtain, the twist thing on the curtain, it's like a fiberglass pole. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I put a hangman's noose out of fishing line on there, about maybe 8 inches long, and I took this stick, and I would see the little anoles on the rocks or a tree branch, and I would be looking at them. And as soon as I got, close to where they were uncomfortable and I was looking at them, they'd take off. So what I would do is I would turn sideways and I'd look at them through my peripheral vision, not looking at them. Mm-hmm. And I could get right on top of them. And I'd put this little hangman's noose around their head. And then I'd look at them and they'd run, they'd hang themselves, take them off of the noose, put them in my little box, and I had pet lizards. So
right on.
So I learned from a young age that they read your eyes and your head and your hands, of course. Mm-hmm. But if you look directly at them, you're going to spook them. And I'm not saying they're going to run away, but they're honed in on your eyes. Okay. So if you just turn your head to the peripheral a little bit, offer them the prey item, the pinky part or whatever, they take it right away. As soon as you look at them, they'll go back around the log until you're not looking at them. Do the same thing. Well, after 3 or 4 feedings, like Eric, you'll see when I go down there to feed yours, they don't even think they know me as the food monkey now.
Okay.
So I'm officially the food monkey, and you're going to be the food monkey when
Smaller
they come
food
to
monkey.
you.
Yeah, got it right.
I have to like grow a beard out of, this little pump.
Slap on a fake beard and for a little help with the transition of, the poor little guys. Yeah.
Yeah. They'll get right on you. Like I say, they've lost their fear of me, which is okay. That's cool. Yeah. But like once you get them to the point they are now, I mean, I'm going out on a limb here. They're bulletproof, man. Once you get them tongue feeding, they're bulletproof.
Right. So I guess does this apply pretty much across the board for Ackies and say all of the dwarfs? Your approach?
Yeah, Ackies are they're a little different. I've yet to hatch out any here yet, so I would be telling a misnomer if I said, but I don't see any problem with it. I've done this for a long enough time where I'm positive my King Gorhams, which are literally, I mean, these things are tiny, and they'll do the same thing. It's just a matter of a few times. Of course, you don't want to make any loud noises or quick movements, because you don't want to go backwards. You just, as long as you have short, positive interactions with them, they're all good. And what's nice about doing this approach that I do is my adult Kimberly rocks now. And when I go downstairs, I'll show you. I can open the door; they'll crawl right up on my arm. They have absolutely no fear of me. They don't run from me. They're just great animals, and it's due to the way you raise them. So. If you take anything away from this is be nice to them, respect them, feed them, in the beginning, don't give eye contact, kind of use your peripheral. And then once they get over that fear of you and your hands, there's no stopping them. Right.
Okay. So what about as far as, so I know me and you sort of talked about it, and at first I was going to get one, and then you'd sort of talk to me about getting a group, and for multiple reasons. But like, if you're going to get into a dwarf monitor, is it best to get a group of them because of them being social, or what?
Absolutely. Well, this is my take on it, and this goes across the board with any of the Varanids. Now, you got to really be careful, not so much with the Odatria species, but like I've found that water monitors, 2 females, they will kill each other. Right. But now there's a period of time when they can be raised together. I think when it's right around maturity, they don't like being in the same area with another female for whatever reason. Like I say, I have no science background, but I do know that. So it's, yes, if you started with 3 of anything, now what you're doing is, now, of course, you got to understand, too, in the wilds, like with Mertens and coming eyes and water monitors like that, these are real water-adapted animals. So when you think about a baby gator, what is a baby gator? First year of its life, they all hang around together. Yeah. They all, they find strength in numbers. Right. If they were all spread out, birds are going to pick them off one at a time. If they're all together, they see the bird coming, they go underwater. So I found that with any of the monitor species as hatchlings, you keep them together because when they are lone animals, and then you got to try to reintroduce them to other animals. Well, they're used to being solitary, so they're going to have their gripes and their hang-ups, and now they've got to impose their will on a different animal, where if they were raised together, they just kind of know each other's quirks and, things like that. But now back to the Odatrias, It's always been known that, and I guess it works as a good marketing ploy too, but
right.
You need a few. Yeah.
And that's what people, that's what people think. Oh, he's just trying to sell me 3. And that's not, I never set anybody up for failure. You want 1, I'll sell you 1. I don't care. But if you're eventually going to want a trio or a group setting, you got to start with a group, because generally what will happen is, and again, I don't know if this is scientific or not, this is just like 80% of the time how it turns out. If you keep 3 hatchlings together, be it from the same group or not, one's going to become dominant, another one's going to become, subordinate, and the other one might want to challenge, the dominant animal, or he might just fall back into the submissiveness, which, I don't know if this is true or not, because I don't know when they develop their sexual characteristics. But if you keep 3 baby Ackies together, or if you keep 3 baby Kimberleys, chances are you're going to wind up with at least 1.1. A lot of times it's 1.2. That's what happened with me when I raised my Kimberly rocks. Started off with 3 hatchlings. You don't know what sex they are, and they turned out to be 1.2. So, there is evidence of it. Whether it's provable, I can't say, but hey, I'm not knocking it. It works.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I guess the sexing part of it is kind of can be tricky, right? Because you can't necessarily sex them. How do you differ it? Like, is it just behaviors, or as they grow and they're into adulthood, you can see characteristics that
Well, yeah,
separate them?
definitely. As they grow, once they grow and they start to mature, you could definitely see the outward signs. It's obvious. But there are subtleties when you're raising up babies, like behavior and, aggressive towards other cage mates. And you could kind of see where it's going. And like from my experience, it usually works out that way. Again, with Odatria, now water monitors and stuff like that, it's a little different, but I believe it does help to raise a group of them together. And as soon as you see outward signs, by the time you start seeing 2 being aggressive with each other, you could probably look at them and say, okay, those are 2 females. I mean, it works out that way. But yeah, people think it's a sales pitch or whatever, and it works good. But, if you only care about one lone animal, so be it. But to try to, I always ask people, if you plan to breed in the future, you should take a group or a couple, and that'll help you out in the end, because trying to introduce 2 foreign animals, it has its issues.
Right.
So
yeah, is that what leads to, like, you see some monitor? Like if I'm looking on fauna or whatever, sometimes I'll see monitors and they're missing toes and all this
tips
kind of
to
stuff.
the tail and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, that's a good point to bring up. A lot of times it is husbandry issues. The Odatria species are prone to like bumblefoot or toe infections if you keep them too humid. So it's a tough balance too, because you want humid soil, but you don't want your surface dry, really dry. So, and that kind of helps with your substrates. So a mix of sand and organic material works real good, because the over time, the sand will actually work to the bottom. And then when you get that, you have a layer in between of the organic material, which holds the moisture, but your surface will generally be dry. And, like you said, Eric, aside from, the husbandry issues, when you have animals and they're biting at each other's feet and toes and tails, that could be a problem. That's why I always say to raise them in groups.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I know when I was talking to Rob about, monitors, when I was first getting into it, he said you could have a hour-long discussion just on the substrate alone.
Absolutely.
Because to your point, right, you sort of have this, you got to keep humidity, but you need it dry at the same time. And that could be a struggle. So let's talk about setup. So I guess let's start. If you're getting a group of baby Odatria, right?
Babies. Yeah.
Do you start in a small cage and work your way up? Can you put them in a big cage? Like, what's your recommendations as far as that goes?
My recommendation is no, I wouldn't start them off in anything too big. Number one, too big, you can't observe them. It's harder to, and here's a big problem people have if they put them in too large of a setup. Now you don't see your animal because they got a lot of hiding spots, fake plants, whatever the case may be. And now you're worried. Wow, I haven't seen him in 2 days. Now you go into his enclosure and you destroy it. And now you're no longer the food monkey. You're the
Hairy monkey ripping apart my house. Yeah,
exactly. You're King Kong ripping apart Tokyo. You don't want, or New York, whatever he ripped apart. That was Godzilla, I'm thinking.
Right. Yeah.
But so if you put them in a simple setup, and when I say simple setup, it's like these 3 criteria you got to meet. You got to have a thermocline, thermal gradient. You got to have a proper substrate, and you got to have hiding areas and water, of course. But the hiding areas, like I said, with that little bit of plant over that cork or that piece of bark, you think that ain't no hiding spot. Tell it to him because he's hiding under it and he's getting warm. He's getting fed. He feels secure, but he's still observable. Like the cork tubes, I tell people to put across the enclosure to put the 1-inch holes in there. You think this cork bark looks like a piece of Swiss cheese, but they can go on top of it and bask. They can go in it and bask, and you can see them in there, and you can offer food through these ports. So they get the security. You get the comfort of being able to see them, and you don't have to tear their cage apart. So you're not going backwards with them. So setup is very important. And again, once you get them to the point where they're not afraid of you and they'll come and feed, put them in anything you want.
Okay. And also, I like the idea of offering the food in the tube because then they're not in the tube and you're not poking something to scare them out or trying to get them to feed that way.
Exactly. That's counterproductive.
Whoever bites. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So now as far as anything else in the enclosure, are we talking, or even just enclosure itself, is it tall that's more important or lengthwise, or can you make both work?
Well, I can make both. You can make both work. Okay. I just had this discussion with a guy on one of the groups, and an old school guy, and he bring up one of the old pioneers back in the day, the way he used to do things, and I'm like, yeah, it was a long time ago, bro. You should try something new. Maybe you'll get some better results. So the debate, because I don't want to say the debate was a vertical thermocline or a horizontal thermocline. Both work. You can make them both work. The problem is if you're going for a horizontal thermocline, you could use a harder light bulb, a heavier hitting light bulb.
Right. Okay.
Because then you have a local area that's really warm, and the other side would be cool. Where in a vertical thermocline, it's a little more subtle because your hot spot's going to be near the top, of course,
closer to the bulb, right?
Closer to the bulb. Yeah. And then here's what's important is here's where you get your thermocline. That simple angled piece of cork bark with that real loose plant over it. The light gets through, the heat gets through, and again, it's up and down on that piece of bark where the coolest is at the bottom, warmest is at the top, and the thermocline is everything under that plant on that cork bark, and they feel secure at any level. Key right there.
Right. So I guess also the key would be making sure you got the right bulb, because if you're trying to do a vertical and you get one of those intense bulbs with like a really intense hot spot, it's going to be way too hot at the top, and you're not going to have any variation down. It'll just be like a beam of, way too hot. So
right.
Yeah. And then
exactly
the horizontal, you're not even going to get any kind of thermal, like it would not get it hot enough. So
right.
You use the same, like, do you have a recommended type of bulb, or do
Well,
you know what?
Here's again, it's like, I try to convey this to people. And you guys know this, I'm sure. Region to region, place to place in this country that we live in, I'm up here in Wisconsin, so I've always, adjusted my husbandry accordingly, to where if I said to somebody who lives in California, Southern California, hey, yeah, go out and get yourself a halogen bulb. I'm not confident in doing that, because, their weather conditions are automatically hotter than I am here. I'm in a basement in Wisconsin. It's pretty much cold all the time. Naturally, it's cold in the basement, and then it's cold in the wintertime. So you adjust accordingly. So yeah, depending on where you are, like I know people in California use it's almost like it's shaped like a halogen bulb, but I don't think it's a halogen. It's maybe just an incandescent. So, but it doesn't throw heat like a halogen is a hot bulb. It really throws some heat. So you got to be careful and experiment. And these are just from years of me honing it in, that I've settled on halogen bulbs for me, and works here.
Yeah, a basement in Wisconsin is not an attic in California, so it's you got to understand that as like rule one. So I get that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. So what did we talk about as far as temperatures for them? Do they vary from species to species, or
Is there
yes? Yeah, there's subtleties. A basic guideline is, if you're raising animals, like 120 is good. If you're breeding animals, my suggestion is, what I do here, so I can only speak on that, is I offer, temperatures 140 plus. Some animals, like my Mertens, you guys have visited them, how freaking hot it is there.
Yes, we do.
So can you imagine laying on a rock in direct sun? And people think 150. Oh, that's outrageous. That's not outrageous. It's probably right on point to there. I've never visited, but you guys have. And the ambient temperatures of my Mertens enclosures and most of my Odatrias, their cool spots are 85 degrees, 82 degrees. That's not cool, but it is cool for them. So yeah, these high basking spots, you got to understand, this is a basking spot. It's 150 degrees is in a concentrated area that they may spend 15 minutes, 10 minutes. A gravid female may spend a half an hour or longer. So you just got to read your animals. An animal digesting food is going to sit up under that basking spot. And again, if you offer these temperatures, their metabolism is on point. They eat a lot, they move a lot, they crap a lot, and that's what they're designed to do. So you need to support that.
Yeah.
Do you provide daily night drops? Like, do you turn the lights off at night? The ambient temperature is what it is. Do you continue to heat and maybe turn the lights out? Like, what's your approach there?
My approach is this. Again, I'm in a basement. When it's wintertime, I have space heaters running. When it's summertime, I have space heaters running because my wife likes the house like a morgue. So the basement stays pretty cold, but I cut back. Like in the wintertime, I got another heater. In the summertime, I have a little space heater on. I turn it on like right before lights out, because if I don't, my temperatures go, lower than 78. And I don't like that. So I generally keep my room at 82 degrees, 84 degrees. And when the lights all go off, it drops several degrees. But so their nighttime temperatures, ambience, they're usually no less than 82, 80 degrees. So, again, it's cooler a few hours. But it's just like in the wild, the night drop comes and it is what it is. But some people run their lights 24/7, which I just don't do that. I just like the natural rhythm of that 12 on, 12 off. It gives them a break.
Yeah, we were talking about that when we were out in Texas. Me, Rob, and Justin Julander were sort of chatting about that, and he was saying about how some monitor guys, I guess maybe it's older school way of thinking is where you leave that on just 24/7. And I was just like, well, that just doesn't make sense to me because the sun goes down, the big ball in the sky turns off. I mean, maybe you want temperature, but I would imagine that they need that.
Dark,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, what I found too is in trying to establish wild caught animals, 24/7 lights is not the way to go. Because I can tell you what happens. They are not dumb animals. They're very intelligent. Right. They pick up on your patterns. They pick up on sound patterns, visual patterns. And when your lights are on 24/7 and you go upstairs and you turn your TV off, you turn your micro, everything, there's no more noises. Everybody's up there sleeping. What are they going to do? Well, they're going to come out and they're going to be active because they know the food monkey ain't around.
Right.
So what happens in the daytime when you start your coffee, you're walking around, now you go down in your basement or you go to your reptile room, as soon as they hear that door open, they're like, oh, okay, danger. Now I'm not saying I'm talking about wild caught animals for sure.
Right.
They hear the noise, they go and they hide. Now you're conditioning your animal to hide from you. Right. I don't want that. I want my animals to be, I want to be friendly with them. I want them to like me. And in the end, like these sulfur monitors I got straight out of the wild of Java, I got them eaten out of my hands already. So awesome. It's just a matter of, knowing how your animals behave and their lifestyle, and don't cater to their fears. They'll sleep at night. If you offer them light all the time, number one, they got to hide to get out of the light. And, number two, you're basically training them to, when they hear noises, to go hide because that light ain't turning off. I'll go bask when it's quiet.
Right.
And that's the wrong approach, in my opinion.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah. The other thing I was curious is like, the Kimberly rock cage that you have is beautiful, by the way. But
thank you, man.
What's the size are we looking at with it? Because that seems like it's a pretty big cage, right?
Yeah, people, people think it's big, but it's really not. It's now you got to understand it. Like if this was a wild caught Kimberly rock monitors, they're going to be like, what the heck is this tiny little box? But these are captive born animals, and they know nothing of the wild. They know nothing of vast, endless open spaces. So they're comfortable in the box if you give them what they need, Right. That cage itself it's really kind of small for a group of four, but it works good. It's about 4 feet high.
Okay.
4 feet across, and now here's the real stunner. It's like 18 inches deep, front to back. So it's really small. But they love it. There's, of course, it all matters what you do with the space as well. I mean, if you utilize your 3 walls and give them, climbing opportunities and basking opportunities, you could triple the size of your enclosure the way you set it up,
Right.
So I guess, that's kind of huge, right? You're using all that space in the middle of the cage that a lot of people you could double, triple your amount of usable space in that
Absolutely.
environment, especially I would think with monitors, because they're going to be, well, at least with the dwarf monitors, they're going to be getting in all these little cracks and crevices and stuff as
climbing up high.
Yeah. So I guess my thought is, do you have multiple basking spots when you're having a group of them, or do you offer that just in case?
Yeah, of course, with anything else that you keep in a group, if you got one basking spot and a dominant animal, well, somebody's going to get cheated, or you're going to start a fight, So yeah, I always offer multiple basking areas, multiple retreats. So, they can all feel secure and not one guy's got the better of the, hiding spots or, so yeah, it's basically with monitors is to give them a lot of choices, a lot of opportunities for, whatever the case may be, basking, hiding, drinking. Of course, in this enclosure right here, I have two spots to water them. So in case, one's protecting a shelf or whatever, he can go to another shelf and drink. So yeah, choices.
It kind of reminds me of the skinks that I just was watching. Is like each skink was defending its rock. It's just a rock.
Yeah.
I would imagine it's kind of the same thing with them. This is my shelf. This is my spot.
Yep. They're survivors, so they want all their best chances, and as much as we like to think they're all cozy and husband and wife, they're not. They want to survive. They don't care about the next one. I mean,
nature is brutal, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Beautiful, brutal. Do you separate the dominant ones out to kind of give the lower guy a shot, or do you pull the lower guy out to give him a shot of his own and a different thing? You just kind of let it happen.
It depends. So far, I've found that with my the Odatria type monitors, all the dwarfs, that if you raise them in a group, they work that out. Initially, like right up there is Eric's, and they're working out their lifestyle right now, and as long as you provide for them after that. The one, they know each other. So when this guy's mad or pissed and I better not take that spot. I better not take that food. They work that out. That's the key to keeping them in groups.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
Otherwise, like I say, try to introduce animals that are already set in their ways. And that's a recipe for disaster.
Right.
So with design of a cage, let's just say for the person that's not going to breed monitors and they just want to keep a group of them, let's say, or whatever. I mean, I would think that you would still want to include that nest box, because wouldn't they use that soil as wouldn't it be easier to say, keep that more of a humid, a place where they could go and get humidity, right?
Yeah. Microhabitats are very important. Like, when you look out at the Kimberly region and, you see scrub plants and it's so dry, but man, they're going, in rock crevasses, they're going, under bushes, and, there's all kinds of microhabitats that they utilize that we don't even see. An untrained eye wouldn't see that. But they're there, they use them, and you have to provide them. Now, in this enclosure here, that nest box, that is a humid hide. They use it. They all use it for their moisture needs. And when a female goes in there and she's nesting, it's really kind of strange to watch, but they'll all leave her alone. I don't see in the box, so I don't know if she's kicking them out. Or if they're respecting her space, but they'll stay at the surface and she digs way to the bottom of the box. So nobody follows her down. That hasn't been the case yet. So they kind of respect their needs. And as long as that box is humid all the way through it, they don't need to go lower. They just need to go lower to lay eggs.
Right. Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah. There was that article that they were showing the burrows of monitors and how crazy intricate they were, and how it was just wild.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Really cool.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, holy shit. I was wondering, if you're going to breed them, right? First of all, I guess the first question would be what's the age? Because I would imagine they grow fast. So
yeah, they all vary. And, I've just been working with the Odatrias the last, almost 2 years. And man, oh man, are these things are different than, my water monitors, my, Mertens. Mertens, they mature after about 2 years, but they actually need a little more time. If you try to breed a Mertens and it's too soon and the female's inexperienced, you could have egg complications resulting in death, which is, nobody wants that. Mm-hmm. So, but I found these Odatrias. I took my Kimberly rocks. I got them as hatchlings, kept 2.2 together, and they turned out to be 2.2.
Nice.
And when in 10 months, they went from eggs to laying eggs. And I don't mean like a clutch. My incubator, I got 3 or 4 clutches in there, and they are barely a year old. So they're a lot different. They got a higher metabolism, so a higher paced life. They got to get things done, unlike a long-lived, these other animals, Mertens and big ass water monitors that have a really long life. And, they see lots of variables in the wild, where these Odatrias, you got to get it while you can get it. It's hot, it's dry, the seasons come and go quickly. So they're on point. They need to, I don't think it benefits them at all to do things moderate with them. I just keep everything extreme with them. Extreme heat, extreme feedings, and they give me a lot of eggs. So I'm not going to,
so something's going correctly. You're like,
yes. Right. And again, I think that falls back on the whole, the monitors are really, I go way back, and they were even before that. So the way things are now in the monitor world, things are rapidly changing. There's a lot of strides being made and changes in husbandry, and the results are obvious. So, when you break out of that fear, for lack of knowing what to call, but the fear that these are fragile animals. Man, these are not fragile animals. These are monitor lizards. They're beasts. They know what they're doing. Support them like they're beasts, and they do good things for you.
Right.
Is it just you think that maybe a lot of people run into trouble because they kind of get over their skis a little bit with, buying a monitor, not fully prepared for what they should be doing for the monitor, is where you think a lot of the issues come in?
Yeah, I definitely, a monitor lizard, and this from the Nile, the Asian water monitors, and the Savannah monitors.
Yeah.
A $30 monitor, and it's impulse. So you think, put it in a 10-gallon with a little cypress mulch, and man, that's just the wrong thing to do. These animals deserve way more than that. And you could see they import them by the hundreds of thousands. And you go on Facebook right now or any of these platforms and say, hey, man, who's got a 2-year-old Nile? Who's got a 2-year-old Savannah monitor? If they show it to you, it's going to look like a football.
Yeah.
And it's not going to live another year. It's sad to say, but, these animals are used to extremes. You got to give them extremes. They don't. I know they call Australia the land of plenty. Well, that may be for the people, but it's not that way for the animals. The animals have it rough.
Yeah.
We didn't touch a single rock until like maybe the sun went down, because I wasn't sitting on that thing. Yeah, no.
Right.
It was,
See, they're smart. They know what they're doing, and if you provide for them the proper way, they do what they do, and they're pros at it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if people will be when they're watching this or listening to this. So if you're listening to the podcast version of this, I would recommend going and watching on YouTube, because Mike has the best seat in the house, and this is exactly why I love monitors.
I've been checking out the one behind him, that barrel one. I love that. I love that enclosure.
Right. Well, that's cool too. But
I love that.
I mean, just being able to sit in your room and watch,
spin around all his lizards.
Yeah, man.
Let me give you a quick look at this.
Please. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Where are we? Okay. Here's. Can you see that?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, there's my chair, and these are my Odatrias. So this is pretty much where I spend, most of my days when I'm not housekeeping for a bunch of little dinosaurs. But yeah, it's a nice little spot, and then I got a spot over there for all my other stuff that I sit and watch.
Holy hell!
Yeah, and then of course I got my big walk-in enclosure there with my sulfur monitors. You could see the pair up there. It's a male and a female.
Oh, wow.
And then I got a big Ularis. I built an enclosure under the stairs. I try not to waste no space and all this stuff. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to play with this stuff, you might as well make it nice and comfortable for you.
Yeah, man. God.
But I appreciate it. I appreciate those compliments, really.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
What is the point? Like, you want to sit down and like, I can sit down in my room and see most of my big snakes and stuff like that. I want to see them. I don't want to look at bins or things like that.
Drawers.
I have some, but like, I'm waiting to get into a bigger space, and I'm gonna correct that shit. Like, I want to see my stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they have their applications. I mean, I get it. If you're a commercial breeder, of course, you're not going to do this with monitors.
No.
But if you're a commercial breeder and you want racks and that's great. But, to me, when I was doing that with when I had my North American desert rat snakes, I started with racks. And I'm like, man, I love these snakes, but I cannot stand looking at this shit.
Yeah. Right.
So I went out and this is going way back in the day too. There was a company called Creative Habitats. I don't know if you guys recall them.
I think I have one of their racks or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Kind of like, but man, how cool is that? You could see all your stuff. You could set it up, naturalistic. I'm not saying it's natural, naturalistic. And when your animals are moving, and they're going up over a log or they're basking on a log, well, it's way better than, let me open this drawer. Okay, you look at it for 5 minutes, you close the drawer. That's all. There's just no pleasure in that for me. I love creating naturalistic habitats and then seeing my animals appreciate it and use it. And I know they appreciate it. I definitely know they appreciate it.
Right. 100%. Yeah. And, you just get this, I mean, it just gives me
I'm selfish. I want my Zen moment where I can sit around and look at my
remember
animals.
what it was like to be in Australia again. And that's like your own little window of, looking at or whatever animals you keep, it's like looking at, your own little box of nature,
Here, I don't know if you guys can see this here. This is my adult Kimberly Rocks. Can you see them?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They ain't afraid. They ain't scared. Wow. They love their setup. Got some up there.
I love the gap hide, like the small gaps.
They love it.
Ram right in there.
And if you notice that up there, that basking shelf, although it's not a basking platform itself, I'll bet you between that piece of styrofoam and the roof of that cage, that's 100 degrees up there, easy.
Wow.
And they'll sit there all day long. They get all their heat needs met, and they're not exposed. And, they love it. If you do these guys right, they love all this stuff.
Okay, so these are which ones are in the barrel cage that we're looking at?
These are Glauerti. These are pygmy mulga monitors, which, they like a more vertically oriented cage, and that basking shelf, I'll bet you I don't even bet you, I'm telling you, that's 100. That's 150 plus.
Wow.
And there's a little female. She's in this crookedest tree. That's got to be 95, 100 degrees there. And, they thrive like this. And they're not afraid of me. You can see they're not afraid of me.
Oh, yeah. He came out because you were opening the door. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, there's another one here. Look, they'll come down. They're not afraid.
Well, they know they're going to check you out, and then when you don't got food, they're just going to go back to doing what they were doing.
Yep. They're waiting for some pinky parts. So we get this closed up.
You open the door. You're supposed to bring food. Like, what the hell? Yeah,
exactly.
That's awesome.
So anything else? I want to show. I want to give Eric a little demonstration of what he's going to be doing here.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, dude, take him to school, man. I mean,
all right, here we go. I'm taking to school.
This is
That's crazy. You guys say that like I'm a teacher, man. I was a worst student in school.
That's what, when people ask me about a certain species that I have that they're interested, I tell them, come over and I'll take you to like white lip school.
Take you to school.
Yeah, come on, man. You can play around with it. See if this is what you really want, because this is what you're gonna have to do. So yeah, take him to Kim school. Come on.
Okay, well, we're going to school right now because you had brought up something, and now that I'm standing here and I'm in teacher mode,
yeah.
F you, Miss Peterson, who said I would never amount to anything. Let me show you something here. This is a baby kingorum. You can see him there,
right?
Yeah.
Okay. This cage, can you see the whole cage?
Yeah, is it like a 20 long? Or
yeah, it's not even that. It's maybe like the footprint of a 10-gallon, but much shorter. Okay. And here you can see a horizontal thermal gradient. So here's this stack of shit. You got like 120 degrees on top of the cork, like 100 degrees between the corks, 85 under the corks, and then over there you got like an 82 spot hidden and moist. So they do what they want. And you can see he's basking out there at probably 90 degrees, 85, 90 degrees. And then in the same breath, there's a vertical thermal gradient and, setup. So here, I'm going to try to feed these guys for you, Eric.
Oh, these are Eric's guys?
Yeah, these are Eric's. These are Eric's little guys. So here we go.
How desperate are you to get your hands on these things right now? Oh,
man.
Can you see in here?
My bonus can't come quick enough. Yeah. You're good.
Yeah, we got it.
Full screen, man.
Yep. It's only you.
Come on.
I love how we're all holding our breath like we're actually
Wow,
there.
they are small.
They are small. Now look at that. See, once he touched it with his nose, he starts sniffing it.
Right.
And don't mind me shaking. I had a bad childhood. Come on.
You're on camera, dude. Don't embarrass me.
Yeah, don't. Come on, man.
Oh yeah, look. Looks like we're getting a little interest.
Yeah, he'll come around.
Eventually.
Like, there it is.
There it is. There it goes.
Look at how small that animal is. Look at the size of that pinky leg.
Wow. That's
wild. Going down the hatch, man.
Look at that vicious killer. Oh my God. That's adorable and awesome all at once.
Owen's getting transferred over to the dark side.
Hey, Eric, I was waiting for the sign. That's it, brother.
Shit, no.
Nice.
That's how it starts.
He's gonna start researching now, and
no, what's gonna end up happening is because first off, I've always loved the look of Kimberly's. So once Eric gets them and I get one like in my hand or like near me, it's gonna be very bad. Like it's gonna be very, very bad for me. So I'm gonna try really hard not to.
Yeah.
Now he'll eat 2 or 3 pieces like that.
Right.
How long do you think it's going to take him to grow eating like that?
Not very long.
Is that daily or?
That's daily. Now, that was one piece, one animal. And yesterday they ate the same thing, 3 or 4 different, pieces each. Pretty much right now, between the 3 of these, they'll eat a whole pinky. So, of course, minced up, but so you see, you got nothing to worry about. They're not fragile or delicate. I haven't found that. And if you just get that out of your mind, I mean, our minds are very powerful, just like these animals are intelligent. You speak doubt over yourself, you're going to have doubts. So speak the truth to yourself, and it only good can come of it. These are not delicate animals. They're healthy. They're going to thrive. They're going to eat real good. And with that mindset, you transfer that over to this animal, and they're going to eat.
Now, how do they relate to the pilbarensis?
Oh, here, my pills are right here.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
Oh, let's get a zoom in here.
Can you see the guy there? That's my male. That's one of my males. I got 2 males, but they're awesome.
They're on the list too.
Look at that. Definitely. It's a beautiful, beautiful animal.
I love the insides of these cages, dude. Like, you know, I know you put a lot of work into this kind of stuff, but that is nuts.
Yeah.
So I started work. So I'm going to give the shout out right now. You know, I picked it up, Zoopoxy from Mike. And,
yeah,
it's the greatest thing ever. I'm starting to, you know, work on the design for, you know, eventually it's going to be the Kimberleys and the Ackies and probably the Pilbarensis and the Kingorum.
Oh no, it's over. Oh, he's getting the whole thing. Yeah, it's god. Yeah, I've lost him. It's over. Okay. Well, you can send all your Morelia to me. We'll figure it out.
No, come on, man. I will.
We can do both.
That's where it's at. You know, I want a little variety, but I don't know. I don't know what it is about the dwarf monitors that sort of like pulled me in. You know,
you can do a lot of fun stuff with this kind of stuff where it's like, you know, you can build a really cool enclosure, and it's not taking up one of your spare bedrooms. Like it's also not a croc monitor that's going to try to take your head off.
Right.
So
I'm going to show you guys another dwarf monitor here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay. This is fun. I enjoy this tour.
Yeah, it's a live tour here.
Yeah. Oh,
okay. The coming eye, right?
Yeah. You see him compared to my hand?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Dwarf my foot. Yeah. There he comes.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, see, they lose their fear of you, and once they do, it's good for them and it's good for you because you have a great relationship with these animals and they appreciate it. Like I said, they're highly intelligent. So if they didn't want the interaction, they wouldn't pursue it. Sometimes they're shut off and they don't want nothing to do with me, and I don't force myself on them ever. I see, a lot of people, they do that baby talk and it's snick, 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 and they click like it's a dog or something. They don't understand that shit. I mean, if anything, I don't know. I better shut up, man. There's a lot of people who do that clicking.
Yeah.
So what about as far as like when you're going to breed these, wow, look at that.
Yeah, this is a sulfur monitor. He is not even a year out of the wild.
Dear God.
So where do they come from?
This particular group comes from Java.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's a Salvatore, I believe Bivitatis.
Okay.
But it's a natural occurring color morph, which is the sulfur, and they're just beautiful. I was never, these get 7 foot. These guys get huge. And, I've been offered them before, and I'm like, yeah, 7 foot, that's a lot. When this group became available to me, and I seen this male up here, I'm going to go in there. When I seen this male, man, I swear to God, I don't know how to say this without sounding too weird. I almost, come in my pants. So
who's that there? If 7 foot, don't give a damn anymore.
Right.
Yeah, I guess. But there you go. That's these are wild caught, so they're a little frayed yet, but not too bad. They're the one that's crawling on top of that female, he'll eat right out of my hand. This female's still a little spooked, but I'm in the process of building. Here's the cage. Basket shelf down there.
Basically, it's the same thing for like you have that big cork tube with even bigger holes drilled in them and stuff like that.
Yep.
So you can feed through that, and then these are like little wood, almost like rectangles that they can get into as well. So that's again, they can hide and still have the thermo gradient. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. And this cage here right now is up here is 84 degrees, 73% humidity. It's been 86. And the humidity's been up to 77, so it's pretty uncomfortable in here. I'm getting out.
They like it. I do not. Yeah, okay.
They love it. Yeah,
monkeys do not.
No.
It's not monkey habitat. Yeah.
Hairy monkey sweat.
Yeah. So, all right. So I was gonna hit on a little bit of breeding real quick. Like, you're getting these guys to the size. What do you manipulate anything? Is it a temperature? Is it a light? Is it nothing? They go to it.
They just breed when they breed.
To be honest with you, if you support them to the best of your abilities with proper temperatures and humidity, and the food intake, I believe, is the key to it.
Okay.
People, man, if you knew what I do to feed these animals and the money I spend, and people think, oh yeah, I'll feed them, twice a week. No way, man. These things eat every day. Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, I'm not feeding them like till they're satisfied every day, but they are eating every day.
Right.
So you keep a good, healthy body weight on them, and their body just goes into, reproduction mode. So just support them to the best of your abilities. My opinion, feed them every day. Of course, you got to be smart with your food. You're not going to feed these water monitors a big rat every day, but you could feed them quails every day, smaller quails, because while they're really good at sustaining the animals, they're not over sustaining them to where you wind up with a football or something that's out of shape. Because a male, an overweight male, he doesn't think about breeding. He just thinks about working off this food. Yeah.
Right. Very cool. And then basically you have that egg box set up. Like, the thing that I just don't understand it, but like, how do you guys know when she laid?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? That's all like experience. Observing, like you see my nice comfortable chair. I don't just come down here and work. I spend a lot of time observing my animals, and you could see difference, like when they're going into a cycle, they become a certain shape. So you know that they're producing follicles, and then from there you'll notice your male starting to court the female, and then you'll catch them locked up. Then you'll see your female, she'll swell. And basically the best thing to do is at that point, you're looking for them to start digging. It's usually, it depends on the species, but shortly before laying, some of them are a month, some of them are just a couple days or weeks. So when you start seeing that obsessive digging from a female who's fat, they'll go in their nest chamber and they'll come out. A lot of times, you won't notice, but if you look at their tail base, you'll notice it. Like even before they lay, you'll notice that tail base get real sunken. I think it's to facilitate the motion of the eggs coming out. But sometimes you'll notice a baggy female, and and then other times you just got to look for that subtlety, like the tail base, or maybe she doesn't look baggy, but she's not as full as she was. It's a lot of instinct too. Like the last clutch I pulled out of these Kimberly rocks, I was like, man, I got two females in here, but I'm like, I just dug up a clutch of eggs, man. What are the chances? I said, that female looks a little, she looks a little down, like she's, lost some water weight in her tail and her back end. Right. And I'm like, yeah, okay, what the heck? So I dug and I think I got 8 or 9 more eggs. So yeah, you just got to watch. Believe me, if this stuff was just, like timing, like with snakes, it seems to be, it's all about timing. 30 days after a copulation, and after you've brumated them for so long, they'll be ready. With monitors, they're always ready, and if you keep them how I got mine, in peak condition 24/7, they just they reproduce. I mean,
my God,
they just reproduce.
How many eggs can you get out of a monitor species in a year? I mean, I know it varies for each species, but I mean, it's nuts.
Yeah, it is. It depends. I mean, the larger species, in my opinion and in my experience, it's a little more taxing on them.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's got to do with the size of the animal. I highly doubt it's the region that they come from or the area or country of origin, but I think it's more of like the lifestyle. So like Mertens, they have a season, it gets a little cooler. So, that shutdown period might trigger like it would in snakes. But these Odatrias, if you keep them in peak condition and their breeding condition and their cage conditions are all up to par, man, they just keep throwing them. How is it in the long run on the animal? I don't know, but I know that with my Mertens, there came a point when I had to separate the male out because he was just breeding them too much, and I didn't want to burn them out. That's they produce huge eggs, and I think the first clutch was like 9 and then like 11, 14. Now I'm getting 14, 16 egg clutches. That's a lot of eggs.
Right.
So, you kind of got to use your own judgment on when is time to, pull the plug for a little while and let them actually really recuperate. But like I say, my conditions are, high. My quality of care is high. My food is high quality food. Supplementations are always on point. So I believe that I'm supporting them really well. And I mean, the proof is in the incubator, but, there comes a time when maybe you got to just say enough is enough for right now and give them a little bit of a break. But if you support them, they'll keep throwing them at you.
So go ahead, Owen.
I mean, do you think the dwarf species breed more just because you assume baby dwarf monitors are easy pickings for a lot of species and a lot of, like, it's almost like baby sea turtles. They throw a lot of eggs just because they know maybe one of them will make it to adulthood. So do you think maybe that's why dwarf monitors just seem to cycle so much?
I do think that's part of it. I also think part of it is the their lifestyle. They're high metabolism animals that when the conditions are right, they're running on all cylinders. So they their whole goal is to keep their species going.
Right.
So again, if the conditions provide for their young, they're going to have young. If the times of plenty cut back and it's a little cooler, insect populations drop, I'm sure their egg production in the wild drops too. So you keep all that into consideration. But as long as you support them well in captivity, like even if you think, wow, yeah, that's a lot of eggs, they're burning out, but man, they're getting quality food, quality care. It's not so much survival of the fittest in my basement,
right,
where it would be in the wild,
right. So when you get the eggs, do you have a time frame from when you have to get them out of the where she laid in the lay box into the incubator? Do you have to get them relatively quickly, or are they a little?
Yeah, I mean, I try to be humble. I think I'm pretty good, but I know I'm not that good. If they stayed too long in the egg box, they dry up. I mean, the conditions within your soil and your egg boxes or whole cage nesting, it's definitely not the wild. It's not stable. We're running it with, electric and heaters and evaporation comes out of your soils. So I'm a, I don't know, a chooch, whatever. But yeah, when they're grabbing and I see them going in the nest box, I'm like, my nose is pressed up on the glass. I'm waiting for her to come out. I try to collect them as soon as possible. Now, there are some cases of, people who,
leave them in there?
Well, one case, no, they don't want to leave them in there, but they don't know. One case I know, lace monitor eggs, they go a long, long time. Could go up to a year.
Yeah,
a little less or more.
Told us that,
holy shit!
Yeah, Brian told us that I mean, he sends me messages that he's like, oh yeah, these are on day like 253. I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like, it's a while.
Well, my Mertens, the earliest was 262 days.
I can't. What? No.
Yeah, I pull my hair out. But I've learned they've taught me great patience, which is nice with the Odatria because I could have my fun in between, you know.
Yeah,
they're in the incubator and out the incubator before these things are even halfway done.
Exactly. Exactly. So a friend of mine had some lace monitors. This is going way back. And he was, taking care of his animals, sitting there looking in his enclosure one day, and he noticed something tucked behind a tree between the wall and a limb.
Oh, no.
So he's like, oh, what do I got? A mouse loose? What's in the cage? He goes and he looks. He's got a baby lace monitor.
Wow.
And it hatched naturally in his enclosure. So that says, he had some tight soil for sure. I mean, that was, whatever he did for that, I'm good, but I'm not that good. I would never leave it.
Wow.
Because I'm constantly adding water to my substrates. I'm returning it, aerating it. There's a lot of work to it.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it could happen.
Yeah, that could happen.
So as far as, I know you use sim containers, right? It's basically pretty straight ahead. That's the best way for monitor eggs.
Well, you know what? I love John and Alex. They're my bros from, long ago, and I support them in their business, and I love Sim's Eggs boxes, and I use them for all my eggs. However, I've noticed that with my Odatria, and again, it's probably not the box. It's, probably something that I do or I have done. I don't know. But my coming eye and my Mertens, they go into Sims over water. I don't have any problems. I lost several King Gorham clutches that way. I lost a couple of Kimberly rocks clutches that way. And after, you lose a few, you're like, you got to start looking at what's going on. Mm-hmm. So that's when I just resorted back to old school. And I still use the sim containers because they're beautiful boxes. They got great lids. They're crystal clear.
Yeah.
But for my Odatria eggs, I put them on vermiculite 1-to-1 by water weight. And I just half bury them in the water in the vermiculite and just wait.
Okay.
But again, there's more than one way to skin a cat in this game,
Oh yeah.
Halogen bulbs, mega ray, whatever, UV, no UV, over water, not over water. There's more than one ways to do this. As long as you're doing good, just keep doing what you're doing.
What's the temperature at that you're keeping those eggs at?
I incubate all my Varanid eggs at 85 degrees. I used to go 86, 87.
Right.
And, again, back in my, I don't know, with my naivety or my immature itty of this, I wanted them to hatch. Right. And I found, it works. But do you gain any time? Do you lose time? I don't really know. So I just, at this stage in my life, I'm in no hurry for nothing. I put it down to 85, which it could probably even be less, but 85 is what I found to be the sweet spot.
That's awesome.
Gotcha.
That's lower than my Python temps. That's
a
couple degrees.
Well,
wow.
I'm sure you could keep Python eggs at 85 degrees, right?
It would just take longer to hatch, right?
Right.
There was that.
You've kept them at 70 degrees.
Shut up! All right. There was that one time I don't plug in the incubator and I put clutch in there, and everybody's like, "That's a science experiment." No, it's an Owen fuck up. Okay,
but that was a good thing to learn, man.
No, it's a learning lesson.
That fuck up.
The real tragedy would be as if you didn't learn.
Yeah, we learned. Check the fucking incubator that we just plugged in. Yeah,
but you still hatched eggs.
Yes, they all still hatched.
Right, that's my point.
It was the biggest bitch clutch to ever get feeding. All of them were horrible.
I think the big takeaway for that kind of thing is exactly what Mike's been saying throughout this whole episode. Right, it's like you have to get out of your head of these things that we have sort of, they're so sensitive. Oh, they're this, they're that, it's like, you gotta get out of your own way,
you do got to get out of your own way because number one, anybody who says, we'll use Kimberly rocks as the example. Well, they're really fragile and they're sensitive. Dude, they live in Australia. They bask on 150-degree rocks. They eat lizards from in crevices, and they're fragile? No.
Yeah, everything is designed to kill them. Like,
they're not fragile. They just got to allow them to do what they do naturally. That's the key to it. Just provide for them, and they'll do everything else. I don't do nothing special. I set up these cages the way I like them, and with temperatures and humidity levels, everything that works for the animal, they do the rest. I don't do nothing, but I'm the food monkey. I bring them food. That's all I do.
Change the water, bring them food. That's all I do.
That's it.
Yeah. So there was a question in the chat, and I don't know. I don't even know if this is able to be known, but maybe there's some thought into this. Do monitors hatch higher or lower numbers of males at a lower temperature?
Like crocodilians, right?
Yeah, I think tortoises or turtles and maybe crocodilians do that. I don't know if that works with varanids or not. I don't know.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. No, Scott Iper's in the chat, and he's just saying no. Wait a minute, that popped up. Varanids, the sex is genetically determined. Okay.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah, Scott. He's going to wave his parentes at us and make us all feel jealous.
Oh, parentes, my favorite.
Yeah, what an asshole.
That's the Cadillac there.
Yeah,
I think I would build a big shed in my backyard.
I'd kill Eric
either for them, or for some Mertens, maybe somewhere down. Who knows?
This
I don't know.
Stuff is just training for you to get those Mertens, and you have that little.
It's like training wheels.
Little.
Well, I can tell you what. I can tell you what, man. Mertens in the proper setup, they can't be beat. It's like the best way. They're what's the generic names? You know how people call somebody vanilla cream. Well, they have bullshit, but Mertens, people call them scaled otters, and that's so on point with what they are. They're Mertens monitors. They're reptiles. I could get them to do, how the dolphin comes up out of the water and gets a food.
Yeah,
I can get them to come out of the water like that. They're like, it's like watching. You can either think of them like a dolphin or an otter or a Mertens monitor. They do so many cool things. And like people who set them up with a nice water feature, but no viewing window underneath. Oh man, you're cheating yourself. There's so much stuff.
That's so cool.
So I'm never going to get rid of that cage. I'll keep that as a cage, but it's like, you're always evolving, always advancing.
Sure.
Eventually, they're going to have like when you go to the food court at a mall and there's the plants and the water stream.
Yeah.
And a little, that's what I'm going to have for them. So that's my end goal with the Mertens. That's a nice little atrium to sit in there with them.
Yeah, and just have the chair right there, right after.
Exactly.
And put the chair here, and we're finished. Yeah,
that's it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was magic seeing them in the wild, man. That was just yeah, man.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, I wish you could have been there, man. You would have lost your shit,
dude.
I would. You know what though? You guys, I hope somebody's, because I'm not young like I used to be. If I would have went in for him, I got the bad leg. I'd be drowning.
You bring one of us. We'll go get it and we'll bring it back to you.
Okay. I was hoping that if I got in trouble in the water, you'd at least rescue me out of the water before you get the lizard.
No, you send somebody else to go get it and bring it back. Like
I gotcha.
That's how you do it. Yeah,
I gotcha.
You point and you say, "You get that lizard." Like yeah.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Well, we're almost coming up on 2 hours, so I don't know. Is there anything else you want to throw out there? If somebody's interested in, obviously, if somebody's interested in getting some monitors, you're the guy to hit up.
I appreciate that.
I don't know anything that we missed or.
Not anything that we missed. Just so people can understand, like. Single solitary animal, if you just want to keep one as a pet, and there's certain ones that are better for that, and other ones do better in groups. So do your research, and if you just want a pet there's certain species, but if you want just a pet, like I have one person who bought one of my king gorams. They only wanted. I mean, that's an expensive pet.
Right.
And I said, "Are you sure you don't want to get like a couple? Because as your son advances, he's gonna want to, and then he's gonna try to introduce one, and then you're running into other complications. So that's it. If you need to do your research on their habitats, their conditions, and again, I don't mean just like if you're paddling a boat down the Sepik River in Iriya-Jaiva, that what the air temperatures. You need to know basking temperatures, microhabitats, the soil moisture in the ground. There's a lot to keeping these animals happy.
Right.
So just do your research.
Definitely.
We did have, I think this would be the perfect closing question.
Yeah, one last question.
And it came from Scott, and he said he has a question for Mike. What is the most interesting monitor you have kept and why?
That's hard because I love them all, but the most interesting monitor, hands down for me, is my Mertens.
Nice.
I just love them. They, like I said, they do as much cool shit on the land as they do in the water, and there's never a dull moment with them. And when they go into feed mode, they're stupid. They lose their brain. and I'm not even kidding. If we ever do this again, I'll do this feeding, and I'll show. Unless I won't do it another time. But they lose their brain. Now I don't know how they are in the wild when you've seen them, but when you offer them food, like if I throw a quail in there in the water, they'll go and get it, no problem. But if I give it to them on a forceps, you can see their eyeballs. They get that little loop in their eye, and they'll come for the food. They back away. They charge. They back up. They're unsure, but they know they want to eat that food prey. But they get weird. And again, you don't want to have your hand anywhere near them when they're weird like this, because they are attacking anything that moves. But I would say Mertens are my favorites because of their aquatic nature, and just as much as they're aquatic, they're terrestrial. So you run the gamut with them. You get to see it all.
Yeah,
that's nuts.
Scott said they're food crazy in the bush too. So
okay, good.
That translates.
I'm so glad I let that one get really, really close to me. Okay,
yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah,
yeah. So okay, man. I mean, yeah. Obviously, there's so many questions that we didn't hit on, and I feel like there's always going to be you're the monitor guy for the NPR.
Yeah, we'll just drag you back in.
I appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
So where can, if people want to get some of these awesome monitors, put your info out there, everything you got, so we can follow you and see what you're going on, because you're just producing them like a machine.
Yeah. Well, they're doing all the work, man. I support them.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, you can catch me, Mike's Monitors Facebook page. You can catch me, Michael Stefani, on Facebook, Mike's Monitors on Instagram, mikesmonitors.com, and I have a Mike's Monitors YouTube channel, which I'm like I say, I'm low tech, but I'm getting content out there, and it's all going to be funny, interesting. You'll get information from it, some entertainment, I hope, and good information. That's what it's all about. I love helping people, even people that are whatever. I don't care. A lot of people, it's crazy. I don't know why this is, but the reptile community, you could find the tightest knit people, and then you could find some people that are just like, they're disgruntled for some reason. And I don't feel I do that to anybody, but there are people out there, but I'll help anybody. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you like me or not. I'll help you.
Didn't I know I don't know who it is, and you probably do, but somebody did a collection overview. I know you did one with Dave Kaufman, but you did another one recently with somebody else. I guess I'm watching too many monitor stuff. It showed up in my YouTube algorithm.
What is happening here?
That's a local guy here. His name is Juan Pineda or something like that.
Okay.
I just met him, but we were planning on doing a tour. I want to help the guy out with his new YouTube channel. I don't know if it's new, but I wanted to help him. So we have a thing here a couple times a year. I don't know, a couple months, whatever it is. It's called Sewer Fest. It's a reptile show.
Nice.
And I was in there and I happened to see him. I'm like, oh man, because he lives in Indiana and I'm in Wisconsin. So I said, hey, you're here. You want to come to the house? So that was shot pretty quick. My cages weren't up to par, but yeah, that was a fun one. He did pretty good with it, I think.
Yeah,
nice.
Very cool. Awesome.
And is Monitor Fest still going on, or what's going on with this?
Thank you for saying
you
that.
are welcome.
Now, I don't know. Okay, Monitor Fest is Brian Waterloo and Andrew Llewellyn and Rob Faust, baby. Okay. I love Brian. The other guys I know, but Brian's right here by me, and he's my friend for a long, long time. I love Brian. Brian is Brian. He gets discouraged or whatever the case may be. And like right now he's having a real hard time with, he wants so much to build these big enclosures and he works hard. He's all by himself. I really wish I was closer to help him, but we are planning the Monitor Fest. I believe it's May 22nd of 2022. And that'll be in Minooka, Illinois, right kind of near where I'm at. But if for some reason, and I just want to run this, I don't want to step on Brian's toes because I love him. But if for some reason he doesn't want to have it, then I would be willing to put it on at my house.
Cool.
So one way or the other, there will be a Monitor Fest. And, hopefully it'll be called Monitor Fest. And I just got to talk to Brian and keep encouraging him. Dude, we'll get it done. We'll get it done. We'll make it happen. So, but it's his baby. And I really want it for him, because it's his baby. It's his idea. And, he's a knowledgeable guy. I love him. And I really want it to happen for him. I worry about Monitor Fest 2023 after the first one.
Right. That's always worry about the one that's coming, then worry about the one that's after.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't want to steal his thunder, so I hope he pulls it off at his place because he's got a real nice collection.
I'm gonna call Andrew and be like, "What the hell? You stole Carpet Fest from me later." So that'll be something I'll bug him about later.
Right on.
So, all
man,
right.
Yeah, anytime, man.
Dude,
I guess we'll let a couple months go by and then we'll have a round 3, man.
Yeah,
just
we'll have to come back and then Eric can show you, like, he'll do the video and show you how he is progressed as a monitor, and then you can give him a grade.
You can give me a
of
grade.
Some kind. Yeah.
I can't wait. And you know what? I got to tell you something. I got all these gray hairs. I'm freaking getting old. I'm nervous. I shake and I walk funny. And I'm waiting. You got that Zoopoxy from me a couple months ago, 3 months or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't want to bother you, but I'm like, come on, dude. Show me a styrofoam sculpture that you're doing something. I got to see something. I don't mean to put the pressure on you there, Eric, but I'm dying to see it.
It's like one of those things, to your point, right? I got to get out of my head, right? Because I have I have this idea and it's like, I have to understand that this is going to be an evolution, right? The first one is going to be this, and then it's going to, I'm going to look at it. And I'm going to go, nah, I can do better, and So,
well, don't worry about it. Just, I look at it as like, I just recently started thinking this way, but I kind of think of myself, not so much breeding the monitors, but doing these enclosures. I guess it's an art form,
Yeah, man. 100%.
So art is subjective, right? Isn't it? It's
Oh yeah.
It's subjective. So if you like it, who cares what somebody else thinks?
I love that.
It's true. Yeah, you're right.
you do it, you put it together, you be proud of it. And, somebody's always going to say, the rocks don't go that high or whatever they say,
Hey, how about that?
But you know what? Here's what I say. When I'm sitting back in my chair here, spinning around in a circle, looking at all this stuff, I'm happy.
Done.
So,
yeah, man.
But, again, I appreciate you guys for having me on the show. I always have a great time with this. And we talked a little earlier, Eric, if we ever do it again, I got something up my sleeve.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted, can I do my rant real quick?
Go for it, man. Do whatever.
Okay, man. Snakes, frogs, toads, monitor lizards, whatever it is, if you got a tadpole, if you got an axolotl, if you got a green tree python, whatever you got, man, join the U.S. Ark, become a member, pay your dues, contribute where you can and how you can, because what we love is in total jeopardy. They're coming up with new rules and laws all the time. So I guess my rant here is join the U.S. Ark. That's it.
100%, man.
That's a good rant. I like that rant.
All right. Even if it takes you 8 months to get your shirt, but
yeah, well, what are you gonna do?
We can talk about that on the next show. I don't care about the shirt. I just want to help.
I just want to,
They'll send you a shirt when I build the cage. That's what they said.
There you go. That's what they're waiting on. They're waiting to see when Eric's cage. So.
I got to chop.
Yeah, dude. Come on.
But yeah, man. Yeah. Thanks again. And
always a pleasure, dude.
Yeah. Right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. And again, Eric, if you need any advice or pointers on the zoopoxy, let me know. Owen, as that little fever that's going on in your head grows, and the cowbell is no longer the prescription, call me, brother. I got you on monitors.
I wore my shirt, but it just says.
There you go.
Just slowly let it happen. All right, I got you. Again, Eric's usually about 3 years ahead of me, and then I end up following.
Embrace it, Owen. Dude, you hatched out a Mertens monitor in your house. I don't understand.
I didn't hatch Mertens. I hatched mangroves. I did mangroves and
I thought it was Mertens. You had
absolutely. That's great, Owen. That's quite a good accomplishment with the black throats and the indicus. That's huge, dude.
Yeah. They were angel eggs. I just incubated them, but I hatched them.
You did good.
So. Yeah.
Cool. All right. I guess we will we'll just close it out.
Shut it down. You guys all know where to go. Morelia Python Radio, was it .net again? .com,
.net, both. You take it to the same spot.
You all know where to go for the Facebook pages. Definitely check out the Teespring store and join the Patreon, where you can become an inland level and join us for the monthly live stream with me, Riley, Lucas, and Eric. Yes, Eric.
There's one thing I do have to throw out there because we have to promote it because it's new to the network, right? It's the colubrid and colubroid radio.
Yes, we actually have professionals doing colubrid stuff now, not just me.
Yeah.
So
it's
that's a brand new show to the channel. So how many goddamn shows are there?
I don't know, man.
12.
So many. Who knows?
Christ.
I can't keep track.
Yeah, I can't either.
Dr. Zach Loafman and Matt Most host that show. They did a great job. If you're into colubrids or colubroids, if you don't know what a colubroid is, then check it out.
Check out the show, because then you'll know.
Yeah.
So there's that. And like I said, the Patreon inland level to join the monthly live stream. And that's about it. We'll catch everybody back here next week for some more Morelia Python Radio.
Thank you, guys. God bless. We'll talk soon.
All right, man.
Yep.
Bye now.